Yes, good evening, everyone. So, welcome to the next session now of marketing management. And we should wait for a few minutes for everyone to join and then we'll start. Okay. So, today we'll continue with the marketing research. I think the topic which we have started in the last class. Let's wait for everyone to join. Okay. So, I think what we have covered up in the last class, we have completed this consumer behavior part. And we have started with marketing research. Yes. Okay. And I think till creative research means we have covered up business research, we have done marketing research process we have to start. Okay. So I think we should wait for at least 5 minutes of time and then we'll start. Okay. Yes. Any doubt to anyone from the last session, please? I hope so it is clear. What is marketing research, the introduction part? Waiting for 2 more minutes, I think. Let's everyone join in. 6:05 sharp will start. Yes, students. So I think we should start now. Okay. Only Ayushi and Shabana has joined. What about the students? I think only 3 students I can see today. Shall we wait or shall we start? I think it's 6:03 right now. Waiting, I think, for 2 more minutes. Benita Kumari has joined. Okay, students, I think we should start now. Sufficient numbers we have. So as you can see that in the last class, we have started with the marketing research. Okay. We have discussed about the definition of marketing research. What do you mean by marketing research ultimately? What exactly the parameters and the consideration we include, and the definition part we have covered up already, and the various, you could say, parameters, or you could say various means or various ways through which the research can be conducted. Okay. And the types of businesses we have also discussed about the marketing research, operation research, and the motivational research. That part which we have concluded in the last class. Okay. Now the next part we have, that is about the marketing research process. Okay. As we discussed in the last class, the importance of marketing research, that how the marketing research process, or we can say research and development process, can actually help a particular company in terms of coming up with innovative products, launching the product as per the requirement of the customer, fulfilling the demand of the customer, fulfilling the expectation of the customer. For all different parameters, keeping in consideration, the marketing research process can be designed and can be formulated. Okay. Now there are certain, you could say, step-by-step guidelines, step-by-step procedure through which these marketing research problems can be resolved, or this marketing research can be successfully conducted in the organization. Okay, the first part we have, that is called the identifying and defining problem and opportunity. Okay, the first thing is that defining the market problem and setting the objectives. Okay, now first and foremost thing, which is the problem identification or problem definition. It is very, very crucial that whenever we want to give certain exams, we must know which paper we are attempting. Okay, it's a very, very simple concept. Okay, so when we discuss about the first point about problem definition, it means that the issue, challenges, problems which the company is facing, it must be clearly defined. It must be clearly stated to the top management. And until and unless the problem or the challenges that the company is facing is not properly defined, is not properly, you could say, communicated, is not properly, you could say, executed, definitely the solution is half, not even half done. Okay, because I think if you remember, when we discuss about the, you could say, this subjective research, or we talk about quantitative research. Okay, or you could say, even we talk about, you could say, the marketing research we are talking right now, if the problem is clearly defined, whenever a company is facing certain issues, it is basically half the solution you have already achieved. Okay, so first and foremost thing, it's very, very important that whenever any company is facing any type of challenges or problem, that must be clearly addressed, that must be clearly defined, then only you need to produce to the solution or the replication of the same. Okay, first and foremost thing, which is an important part about the problem definition, that the second, once we know what exactly the problem company is facing, according to that, the company may set the objectives, company may set the parameters, company may set the guidelines, that what are my target audience, what is the, you could say, major, you could say, pros and cons which the company is facing, what actually the perception of the people or perception of the customer, what about the competitor section. There are so many things which we can cover up under research objectives. Research objectives are basically the step-by-step solution by keeping in consideration all important parameters. Parameters may be customer, maybe supplier, maybe government, maybe you could say competitors, maybe you could say purchasing power. There may be n number of parameters we can consider, but the consideration of parameters are totally based on the problem definition. What exactly the problem the company is facing. Please read out all the points. I think I have already covered up. Any doubt to anyone in this first two topic, first two stages of marketing research process? Please do let me know. The problem definition and research objectives. Is this point clear, I think, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Next one now. Categories of research. Okay, as I told you already, that depends on the parameters, depends on the factors to be considered. We have different type of research studies we have. Okay, make sure I am discussing this particular topic only in the context of marketing. Okay, because if I start discussing this topic in the context of research methodology, the things would be endless to discuss actually in the classes. Okay, so right now I am discussing only those content which is important and which is required as per the subject knowledge. Clear? Now, the first point we have a type of research that is called exploratory research. Now, what is exploratory? Is to investigate, is to find out something new, is to actually having the hunger to find out something new. It is a hunger to actually come up with some new product, new development, new concept, new idea. All these type of, you could say, research comes under exploratory research. It is all about investigation. It is all about proving, or you could say improving the quality, improving the content, improving the size, improving the you could say the ingredient of your existing product. Okay, but make sure all the exploratory research is based on secondary data only, because on the basis of the existing data you may actually compare, you may actually analyze, you may actually evaluate what changes you need to incorporate, how the changes can be incorporated, how the changes can be deployed in the organization. That is the first part about exploratory research. हाँ जी. Finding something new conclusion. Okay, thinking beyond the capacity of the researcher. Okay, thinking out of the box. All comes under exploratory research. I hope so. Am I clear with this?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Second point now, descriptive research or descriptive study. Descriptive studies basically already the information is available, things are clearly defined, but now only you need to analyze the parameter. For example, the impact of occupation over demand of a product. The occupation is the one of the descriptive parameter or parameter which we need to consider to in order to, you could say, find out the relationship. Age, education, occupation status we discussed already, market potential, per capita income, perception of the brand, everything. So whenever we have certain category of variables, and these categories of variable must be described, must be analyzed for a particular study, that is called your descriptive research. हाँ जी. हाँ जी. Is it clear, everyone? The second point, descriptive research.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure. Next one, if we talk about, that is called causal research. Okay, causal is basically the relationship of cause and effect relationship. Okay, now always remember, causal research is called experimental research as well. And in this research, we always analyze the effect of one variable with respect to other. For example, changes in the price of the product, changes, or you could say impact on the demand of the product, changes in the quality, color, shape, brand value, brand logo, whatever, impact on the sales of the particular product. So whenever there is any change in one variable and the impact of change in one variable with respect to other is called your causal research or experimental research. Okay. The impact of taxation on the product and the demand of the product. Impact of price on demand. Impact of petrol prices on vehicle selling in the market or sales or revenue generation of the automobile sector. So many examples we can consider. Impact of a drug on the you could say health of a particular individual. So many examples are there. Any research associated with the cause and effect relationship on different variables or among different variable we can say, or between two variable we can say, that comes under casual research. I hope so it is clear everyone, the types of research. Any example if you can quote anyone please about exploratory, descriptive, casual, apart from my examples please. Hanji. Any example from your side, please, about all these three types of research? Because might be you must have the basic knowledge of this particular topics, okay, regarding research.
Hi, sir. Just maybe one examples of each. The exploratory research can be something which we, without any given data or fact, we analyze. Let's say store to store, ice cream brand versus another ice cream brand in the same market. Perhaps to analyze the branding, the sale trends, the market, the type of target audience, and the variance in sales and the variance in kind of the timing or operational hours or anything. That can be one way of example, if I may correct.
Yes, definitely, you are correct about it. Okay, that may be type of exploratory research we are talking right now. Okay.
True, because we don't have any data to relate with.
Because the basic difference between exploratory and descriptive is that in exploratory, the variables are unknown. We need to find the variables and we need to analyze. But in descriptive, we know the variable which will impact a particular data, a particular situation, or a particular, you could say, problems in the organization.
True. So for descriptive, let's say I have a product in Amazon which is listed, and let's say I sell oximeters by a brand, and then I have I can evaluate and analyze from Amazon team, like what is the numbers, how many people are clicking those oximeters and trying to evaluate the prices and purchasing them. So I can have a systematic or a formal research with the data and evaluate whether I should increase my or decrease my prices to have more sales, or to have better branding, or have to add more features so that I can have more sales conversions.
Definitely. Yes, absolutely correct. So the only difference between this exploratory and descriptive is that until unless the variables are unknown, the parameters are unknown, we need to find the parameter and start investigation. Exploratory. But descriptive, you already know the parameters, and accordingly we need to take a decision whether we, like the example you have quoted as well, whether we have to increase or whether to decrease, or what changes in the policy which the company need to incorporate. That may come under descriptive research. Then what about casual now? Last one, casual research. Any examples? The cause and effect. Hanji, anyone please.
So is it a real time, like your own experience, like let's say a restaurant experience, a cinema hall experience?
Yes, definitely. We can consider. Like any elaboration we can give, I think, for this casual research, because casual research is more about experimental research. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so if there's a let's say a cinema hall to be compared. I think that's based on completely based on your experience,
Hmm.
and I think that's how we build and evaluate between my previous experience and this experience. Maybe I'm just I'm not too sure about this.
Basically, like when we discuss about this casual research, it is more about, could say, yeah, we can consider the social aspect or the emotional aspect or human consideration when it's come to experimental. But this experimental research basically consists of these basic three parameters: symmetrical, reciprocal, or asymmetrical. Okay, symmetrical means which fluctuate each other, means changes in one variable with respect to that impact the changes in the other variable. Direct relationship we can say, or you could say the perfect relationship we can say between two variables. The changes in the price of petrol and changes in the sale of the vehicle, or changes in the price of diesel we can say, and changes in the sale of diesel vehicles. Symmetrical relationship. Okay, changes in the, you could say, prices or taxation on a particular commodity and the sales of that particular product. Changes in the ingredient of any drug or a medicine and impact of that on the health of the people or health of the patient. Symmetrical relationship. You can see this relationship may be symmetrical, maybe reciprocal, or maybe asymmetrical. Depends on the effect of that particular parameter on other variable. Clear, I think so, Diljit?
Yes, sir, yes, sir. Now it is clear. So that's comes under casual research based
Yes,
on
that is called casual research. Yes,
certainly.
because there will be so many examples we can quote over here of all these three. Because when we talk about type of research, there are so many topics which we can consider when it comes to type of research.
Right, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Any other doubt, please, to anyone? Any other example if you want to quote? Else we'll move to the next slide now. So next heading is all about the, once we are done that what type of research we are conducting, the next point which comes under that is about the developing the research plans. Okay, now developing the research plan, which comes, the first point is about data sources, whether the data which you are evaluating, is it a primary data or a secondary data, or we need to collect the primary data, or the existing data should be elaborated or should be considered for evaluation and conclusion. Second point is research approaches. How the research can be approached. Research can be approached means which methodology to use to conduct the research. Whether it's an observation, focus groups. Focus groups means which particular group you need to target about your analysis. Survey. Behavioral data means observation. Behavioral data is all about how a particular customer behaving in certain situation. According to that, you will simply observe. You will only just monitor, and accordingly, you will record the data. Experiments, we already know, laboratory experiments, okay, that may come under research approaches. Okay, sampling plan means how the sample may be collected. Okay, that sample maybe, I think we'll discuss later on, might be, I don't think so we have a yeah, sample, I think we'll discuss. So sampling plan is basically is all about how the sample may be collected, how the sample may be analyzed or evaluated, and how the conclusion can be remarked. Okay, that is the part of sampling plan and contact method. Contact means how we are approaching to the concerned audience. Clear? Next one, we have research instrumentation, whether we are going for questionnaire, qualitative measure, or technological devices to record our information or to collect the data from the audience. Hanji, is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Hanji. Any doubt to anyone, please, in this slide? Shall we move, I think, to the next slide now, if it is clear?
Yes, sir.
Hanji. Now come to the next part, please. That is about sampling design. Okay. Now what is sample? I think we already covered up. because of the limitation of time and money and limitation of resources, each and every research is conducted on the basis of samples. Okay, and these samples basically the part of the population which we consider. Okay, now when we discuss about the part of the population, means who is to be surveyed, sampling unit, means out of the population, the number of, you could say, sample or number of people to whom you will analyze, to whom you will monitor, to whom you will observe, sampling unit. Sampling size, how many to survey. Okay, and how should the respondent be chosen. Okay, that maybe you could say there are various sampling methods. I think we'll discuss in short today. Okay, so which particular sampling procedure, which particular sampling method to be choose to collect the sample, okay, or to collect the information, that is called sampling procedures. That may probability, non-probability, random, non-random. So many methods are there. We'll discuss in detail, not detail actually, we'll discuss in short as per the requirement of the subject about sampling procedure. The sampling unit is define the target population, youth, age groups, income level, any parameter could be, you could say, the base of sampling unit. Sampling size, number of sample, and sampling procedure means the method through which the samples may be collected. Clear, I think, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Now, definition of sample and sampling unit. I told you already, sample nothing but basically the part of the population. And as we know that because of the restriction of time and money or restriction of the resources, we can actually study the part of the population or a particular representative part of the population that will actually help us to conduct our research. Okay. And sampling is what? It is nothing but a procedure or a methodology through which we can collect the sample data from the population. Because now this topic is moving more towards research, actually marketing research basically we are discussing right now, because it is altogether a very different subject. Make sure research methodology. Okay, I am not discussing anything in detail right now. I'm just going through with the content requirement as per the syllabus. It might be possible in future if we have any part to discuss about that subject. I'll definitely discuss in detail, because I have a different PPTs for all those you could say subject and topics. Hanji, is it clear, everyone?
Okay, sir.
Perfect. Next one now, sampling approach. As I told you already, we have two types of sampling method, that is called probability and non-probability sampling. What is probability sampling? Each and everyone having the equal chance of selection. You know what is probability? I think each and every parameter having the equal chance of selection. For example, if I'm telling that if I need to, you could say, select the 50 member for my sales team, I'm selecting all those whose birth date is even number. So that is the probability sampling. Means I'm selecting those who are having the birth date as even number. That is the particular criteria to select a population or to select a sample from the population, better to say, I think. Okay, that is called the probability sampling. And what is non-probability? Where there is no criteria to select a particular population. We are selecting on the basis of our judgment, on the basis of our observation, on the basis of our experience. That is called non-probability sampling. Is it clear what is probability and what is non-probability sampling?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, sir.
Sure. Thank you. Next one, we have the types of probability sampling. Okay. You can see that there are basically 4 types which is given on my slides, and I'll just give you for example as well. The first is called simple random sampling. Simple random sampling is nothing but basically simply nothing but lottery system. Okay, where each and every individual having equal chance of selection. For example, we have a bucket of chits, and you know the lottery system. You know about that kitty parties. You know about that you could say a selection of an individual out of the box. Okay, like lottery system, any prizes, any bonanza, any schemes launched by the company. The companies are basically putting that shit into the box, and at the time of, you could say, you could say declaring the result, you always pick randomly a particular chit, and you will select that particular individual as a winner for that scheme. That is called simple random sampling. Clear? The lottery system is the best example. Clear, I think, everyone? The first method of probability sampling.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Second one is called your systematic sampling. Systematic means a particular criteria to select a particular sample from the population. Every fifth item, every 10th item, every even number, every odd number. Means whenever we have a set criteria to select the sample from the population, it is called your systematic sampling. I mean, there is no biasness at all. It's a complete transparency because we have a particular method to select the sample from the population. And is it clear, everyone?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next one, we have stratified random. What is strata, first of all? Can anyone define what is strata?
No idea, sir.
Okay, fine. For example, let us suppose in government jobs, we always having a certain criteria of caste system. Okay, 40% seat reserved for general, 20-30% for SC, then ST, then OBC, then other caste whatsoever. What we are doing, we are actually dividing the population on the basis of homogeneous subgroups. On the basis of homogeneous subgroups. Now, these homogeneous subgroups may be of same characteristics, may be of same age, same gender, same, you could say, occupation level, same educational level, same experiences, or example which I quote about same caste, same religion, any dividation of the population on the basis of certain characteristics, that is called your stratified random sampling.
Random sampling.
Yes, Ms. Benita, any doubt?
No, sir.
Yeah, sure. Is it clear, everyone? Example is also clear. Stratified random sampling.
Sir,
Okay,
will you
sir.
please give example once again for systematic
sure.
sampling?
Systematic sampling. Raksha, like for example, let us suppose you are working in the company and you want to select you want to promote your sales teams now. Okay. So what you will do, you will select or you will promote only those who have completed the annual sales of over 10 lakh rupees. That's your criteria. Okay. So what you are doing, out of that 100,000 people working in the company, you are selecting only those who are actually fulfilling the criteria of over 10 lakh upsells. Means you have a standard criteria to select the sample. Clear? I think systematic.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Stratified, clear, everyone? Example is also clear.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Please think about one example. Okay, I'll ask afterwards. Next one, we have multi-stage cluster sampling. Okay. Now, multi-stage cluster is, for example, I'll give a very basic example right now. What is cluster? Is again a group. Group may be of homogeneous or heterogeneous population. Okay. Usually, multi-stage cluster sampling, there are two words, multi-stage and cluster. For example, a particular MNC has to select certain, you could say, human resource from Asian market. Okay. Or you could say from Indian market, for example. So what they will do, they will select India as a macro factor. In India, might be possible they are selecting only from metros. So they selected Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai, and Calcutta as 4 cities. From there, they will select. See, we are going multi-stage, make sure. Stage 1 is country, or you could say, for example, region, Asia. In Asia, they selected India. In India, they selected metros. Now, in the metros as well, they will, if they have certain criteria, for example, a particular person having experience of 10 years in this industry, having this much of certification, again, one more stage I'm talking right now. So whenever we are selecting a particular set of population or a particular set of sample with some stages. Stages means with a particular process, with a particular, you could say, guidelines, with a particular, you could say, formulation, that is called multi-stage cluster sampling. Cluster क्यों बोला हमने? Because why? Because it is basically the part of a particular area or a particular locality. Okay, that may be a city, that may be a village, okay, that may be a urban city, suburban, metros. So any bifurcation may work, but it should be on multi-stage cluster. Okay, one more example I'll give you. For example, let's suppose you have to select certain, you could say, human resource again from Indian market, and you have a criteria that from metro cities you will select 20% people, from urban area you will select 30% people, from suburban you will select 20%, rest from other you could say areas. So what we are doing, we have created the multi-stage, and we are selecting cluster, we are selecting the percentage of people from each population. Clear, I think, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Now you can see this. I think these examples, this graph might not be clear to you. I think, is this topic clear? I think the type of probability sampling: simple random, systematic, stratified, and multi-stage with the help of examples. Amlan, I think, please kindly don't put any marks on the screen. Humble request. Okay. Hanji. Shall we move, please, to the next part? The non-random sampling, non-probability sampling.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Now the next part we have, that is called the non-probability sampling. Okay. Now under non-probability sampling, we have 4 basic types of sampling. I'll give you an example for that. First sampling, as I told you, what is non-probability sampling? First of all, any sampling based on judgment, based on convenience, based on comfort, based on ease. Okay, these type of sampling is called non-probability, where we do not have the set criteria to select the samples. Okay, the first sampling comes under non-probability, which is called your convenience sampling. Convenience means the sample collected by the researcher as per the ease and availability of the audience. For example, I have some research work from my college, and I have to complete my research project and have to fill around 500 questionnaire from Indore region, okay, or from MP, we can say. What I will do, I will only give my questionnaire to all those people to whom I can easily approach, to whom I can easily go and easily fill those particular forms. Convenience. So based on the easy availability and accessibility of the researcher, you will collect the sample from the population, and according to that, the research may be conducted. That research may be true, may not be true, depends on the quality of data to be collected. Clear, I think, first part? Convenience sampling.
Okay, sir.
Hanji. Next one now, I think, that is called quota sampling. Okay. Quota sampling is basically nothing but the number to be decided in a particular category, okay, or respondent to be decided in a particular category in advance. For example, if I have to create 2 teams for my football or for my cricket, and I have decided the quota that the person having, you could say, belongs to MP will be selected only, and in MP they may be selected on the basis of their you could say experience and their knowledge. Quota is something nothing but whenever we are defining a particular number in each category, and that particular quota is decided or defined without any scientific way. It is totally based on your judgment, totally based on your comfort, totally based on your availability of the data in the locality. Okay, that is called quota sampling. For example, if I have to select 15 male, 15 females, so I will just select the category that 2 teams will be based on 15 female and 15 male, not even 14 male or 16 females. So what we did actually, we actually selected a sample as per the quota, as per the convenience of the particular researcher, and accordingly they are selecting the number of respondent to be selected. Hanji, clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next one we have judgment sampling. Okay. Now judgment sampling is basically all about based on your observation, based on your judgment, based on your opinion, you are selecting the samples. Okay. For example, in a class, if I have to select the 5 students for my research team or for my research group, on the basis of my experience in the classes since last 1 year or 1 month, whatever it could be, I will actually judge the student and I will select the student accordingly. Means whenever I'm selecting the sample on the basis of my prior experience with that audience, and according to my judgment, I'm selecting the people from that locality or people from that class. That is called judgment sampling. Judgment means on the basis of your experiences and your knowledge about that particular population. Clear? I think examples are also clear because these things can be understood only with the help of examples. Clear? Shall we move?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Then last one we have snowball sampling. Now what is snowball? Everyone knows, I think. As the snowball, you could say, declines or it passes a one to one to the snow, the size of the snowball increases. Okay, that concept basically works under snowball sampling, or it is also called chain sampling as well. Sometimes what happens, whenever we need to collect the data or information, these information are not easy to collect, or we cannot approach the audience very, very easily. For example, if I have to collect the data or if I have to conduct a research on the retired IPS officers, is it possible or is it that easy to approach IPS officers? I don't think so. Okay. Is it so? No. Okay. Or I could say retired Supreme Court judges, retired High Court judges. I don't think so. These people are easily approachable. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So in those cases where the sample collection is not that easy, in those cases, we always go for referral basis. For example, Mr. Anuj having very good 2 or 3 friends, those who are retired IPS officers. I'll contact to Mr. Anuj. I'll take the number. I'll take the appointment and I'll meet all those 3 people first in Delhi. Okay. I met them. Okay. And from those 3 people, I took 4 more reference. From those 4, I took 5 more reference. From 5, I got 10 more reference. So what I'm doing right now, I'm creating my snowball. I'm going for reference to reference. I'm going for chaining to chaining. I just only got a link from Mr. Anuj for those 3 IPS officers. But in order to collect the data, I need at least 100 to 200, you could say, questionnaire from at least from IPS officers. So how is it possible? That is why possible with the help of snowball sampling.
The chain system.
Chain system, yes. That is called
Okay.
snowballs. I think example is clear.
Okay.
Perfect. Any query to anyone in this particular part, please? That is probability, 4 parts, and non-probability, 4 parts. Any doubt to anyone, please?
No, sir.
No, sir.
I think so. Okay, good. Let's move to the next part then. Now,
Hello.
selection of the information. Okay, that information, I think it's very, very simple. I'm not going to discuss in detail right now.
Sir, I'm audible.
Yes, Neeraj, please tell me.
Sir, my question is in probability sampling, sir, systematic sampling and non-probability sampling, quota sampling. Sir, I can't clear how types.
Okay. Yeah, I think you have a confusion in these 3 types of sampling.
2 types, sir. 2 types: systematic sampling and quota sampling.
Okay. See, basically, first of all, quota sampling is all about non-probability sampling, where you are selecting the number of people or number of sample as per your own convenience, as per your own ease. But when it's come to Systematic sampling. We have a particular predefined scientific criteria to select the people. Like I have given the example to Raksha as well. Like in her company, if she wants to promote, you could say, their sales team, how she can promote? Definitely there should be some criteria, some base through which you can promote. So what she did, she selected all those people who have cleared or who have actually reached the sales of 10 lakh and above in a financial year. So that is systematic because she have a particular criteria to promote all those people of sales into her company. But quota is something that basically is all about based on your convenience, based on your, you could say, comfort, you are selecting a particular category and the number.
Okay, sir.
I hope so clear, Neeraj.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Because see, I have so many things to discuss about this research as well or sampling as well. But because of the restrictions of so many things, I am just restricting myself to discuss things in detail. Okay. But if time permits, if destiny permits, definitely we might discuss this subject separately in future. Okay. Hanji. So shall we move? I think collecting the information is very, very simple. That maybe with the help of interviews, telephone surveys, in-home surveys, online surveys, it may be anything. Okay. Clear, I think, everyone?
Yes.
Yes, data collection instrumentation is very, very simple. Again, types of questionnaire we have. You know what is questionnaire? I think so. How to fill the questionnaire, how to design the questionnaire. Yes, student, clear, I think, everyone? Questionnaire, I think everyone knows.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Then I think it's very, very simple about tips to prepare effective questionnaire. Because see, I have one more actually detailed topic about designing of questionnaire, but not discussing that, again, keeping in consideration about the subject requirements. So just tips for preparing effective questionnaire. Just read it once. Let me know if there is any doubt in any of the point. If so, they will move to the next topic. Because if you need, I have a very good book, C.R. Kothari, for this particular topic of what is research, type of research, sampling, types of sampling. I can share it with you if you want to read that. Yes, students. Any doubt to anyone, please, in this particular slide?
No, sir.
Now, these are basically certain scales or certain, you could say, questions which we usually include in the questionnaire. Okay. And these questions are based on 4 basic type of scale, that is called nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval scale, and ratio scale. Okay. Now, when I'm talking about nominal scale, what is nominal? Which is just for the sake of number, we are actually defining an object. Okay, for example, the number written on the t-shirts of the cricket players, nominal scale, because we are just defining the number just for the identification of those people. That is called nominal scale. Clear, everyone? For example, gender, so male, female, others. These are nominal scale actually. Because we are just creating, or for example, 1 for male, 2 for female, 3 for others. So in that case, that may be again considered as a type of scale. Just for the sake of number, you are giving M, F, O for categorization of male, female, and others. Clear, I think, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Second comes that is called ordinal scale, order. Okay. Whenever we are arranging the particular data on the basis of example, age group you belong to, below 18, 18, 25, 25, 30, 30, 35, we have a set order of a particular age group. That is called ordinal scale. Clear, I think, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, student, please try to understand, because I think most of you are well experienced, I think, in their own fields, and you might have experienced the filling of the questionnaire in the malls or in your organization as well. Whenever you're filling any questionnaire, these questionnaire are based on these 4 type of scales only. Okay, so nominal and ordinal. I think it is clear.
Yes, sir.
Second one, we have interval scale. Okay. Now, interval scale is basically whenever we need to define a certain criteria or define a particular value, and according to that, we just want the respondent to rate on that. For example, if you have visited to a movie, I think Diljit, with the help of example we are discussing, and out of 10, if you need to rate that movie in terms of its content, in terms of its story, definitely 10 having some importance and 10 having some weightage, 10 having some recognition, 1 having some recognition. This from 1 to 10, each and every parameter having its own value, having its own importance. That is called interval scale. Clear, I think?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. And the last one we have, that is called ratio scale. Ratio scale, nothing but basically, whenever we are comparing any information from a zero, okay, with that zero may be absolute or may be real as well. For example, if I'm comparing the fever, if I'm comparing the height, if I'm comparing the, you could say, weight, if I'm comparing the money, if I'm comparing the inflation of the country, we always have a certain base to compare it or percentage change to compare it. That is called your ratio scale. Clear, I think, everyone? These 4 types of scale. I have only discussed in short right now, please, frankly speaking.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Okay, sir.
fine. That's good. So I think, student, this is time to take a break right now, and we will continue with this topic. Okay,
Okay, sir.
we'll get back to it 7:05 sharp now, and we'll try to complete this topic today. Okay, because we might have an excellent session, I think 7:30, 7:45 today, but we'll complete this topic today. Okay. Okay, so just going for the break, and we'll get back to you at 7:05 sharp.
Okay.
I'm not able to hear. Can anybody hear me, or is it?
Yes, students, shall we start? I think. Okay. All are back. हाँ जी. Yes, students, shall we start? I think everyone. The type of scales we have covered up: nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio scales. Any query to anyone, please? No, I hope so. Understood all these 4 important scales? हाँ जी.
Okay, sir.
Perfect. Anuj. Thank you so much. So the next topic we have, that is about the attitude measurement scales. Attitude measurement scales is basically all about whenever we need to measure the perception, the mindset, the internal thinking of a particular, you could say, individual. This is called the attitude measurement scales. It is more about, you could say, a subjective analysis or subjective data collection from the audience or from the population. Okay. Now, the first scale is called open-ended scale. What is open-ended scale? Where the respondent is free to express their thought. For example, what is your opinion about the new product launched by our new iPhone 12? Now you can express your words that I have experience of this and this mobile phone having this feature, whatsoever, blah, 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 and whatsoever. The most important part when it's come to open-ended questions or open-ended scale, the the respondent is free to respond or free to express their words or free to express their feeling for any question being asked. Okay. Clear? I think you might have experienced all such type of questionnaire as well. Okay, you might have definitely filled all those type of questionnaire as well in your life. Okay.
Already, sir, implemented.
Yes. Thank you so much. Second, we have that is called dichotomous or called close-ended scales. Okay. Whenever the respondent having restricted choices to give the response. Restricted means either yes, no, true, false, ready, not ready. So whenever we have only binary options available to give the responses, that is called your dichotomous or close-ended scales. Is it clear? Which type of question may come under this dichotomous scale? I think anyone having any idea, an example? Hanji.
It can be like, have you visited us? Yes or no. So
Yes. Have you ever visited to Kerala? Yes. Then there would be some subsequent questions. If no, then there would be some subsequent questions. Or question may be ended as well. Okay. The range of question or the series of questions or the flow of question is totally depends on the dichotomous or close-ended questions as well. Okay. Multiple item scale. What is multiple item scale? When a particular respondent can select two or more choices among the options or alternatives available. For example, you have applied in IBM and you have, you could say, choices to give your preference about your job location. So like Mr. Anuj selected Delhi first, then Mumbai, then Calcutta, then Bangalore. So whenever we have multiple choices in order to give your responses for any type of question, that may comes under multiple item scale. Hanji. Is it clear, everyone? Example is also clear?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Last one we have semantic differential scale. It's very, very simple actually. Whenever we need to convert any subjective uh, not data actually, any subjective response into form of numbers, that is called your semantic differential scale. Like for example, how do you rate about the services of Maruti Suzuki Nexa? Okay, rate 1 if it is poor, rate 5 it is excellent. So what we are doing, we are converting that subjective number or subjective value that is poor to 1 and excellent to 5, so that it is easy for the researcher to actually compare, to actually analyze. Okay. I hope so it is clear. Anji. All these 4 types are clear, please, when it's come to attitude measurement scales.
Yes, sir.
Anji. Everyone, examples are also clear?
Yes, sir.
Example I have, I think one of the example of semantic differential scale. Okay. For each pair of adjective, places a class, a point between them, reflect the extent to which you believe the adjective describe a policeman. Okay. So I think just basically whenever we talk about semantic differential scale, we have two basically ends or two basically extremes, and between those two extremes, like poor and excellent, between poor and excellent we have moderate, good, satisfactory. That may be the options. Okay, but in under semantic differential scale, we always actually define focusly the two extremes of the responses. Haji. Any doubt to anyone?
No, sir.
Perfect. Then we have some other measurement scales, I think so, that we'll discuss one by one. The first one is comparative scales. Okay. Comparative means between X and Y. You need to compare and you need to mark the particular picture. Okay. So that is again the example of comparative scales. Sorry. Comparative scale means whenever we are comparing two products. Okay. Which product is better? So comparison between two on the base of certain grounds, that is called comparative scale. Pictorial scale means whenever we have the picture or the images or emojis, we can say, to actually give your responses. That is called pictorial scales. Hanji, clear? Third point is called your constant sum scale. What is constant sum scale? When the respondent having, you could say, limited total number to give your response. Like out of 100, you need to give the numbers to all those 4 parameters. So whenever we are comparing, whenever we are giving any rating on the base of out of 100, out of 50, and you need to bifurcate your points, that is called your constant sum scale. It cannot be above 100, it cannot be above 50. What is the fixed criteria? It is being set. Hanji.
Okay, sir.
Everyone please clear? All these 3 points?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, Likert scale and Semantic differential scale is almost similar. Okay. Now, when we discuss about Likert scale, we have like in the semantic differential, we saw that we have 2 extremes only. But under under you could say Likert scale, we have this criteria. Like 7 is for strongly agree, 1 is for strongly disagree. And according to that, if you will choose 1, you are strongly disagree. If you will choose 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, having a particular significance and the meaning of this particular Likert scale. Means apart from the extremes, we are defining number as well. Haji, any query to anyone? Likert scale? I hope so you are understanding the differences between all these parameters and points.
Yes, sir.
Any query to anyone, please? Comparative, pictorial, constant sum, Likert, semantic differentials, and all these.
Sir, example of the last Likert scale.
Actually, like whenever, like as I told you, all these type of scales we are discussing, it is just for the subjective data. Okay, whenever we have some subjective data, behavioral data, and whenever we need to convert into form of number, so that analysis can be done very easily. Okay, like for example, after a particular service of your, you could say, vehicle, or after using a particular, you could say, software or GeoFiber work, for example, okay, what was your opinion? So definitely it's subjective. It is about your own feeling. How we can convert those feeling into numbers? Likert scales.
Okay. As per the human opinion, the numbers and given the number.
Yes, definitely. Like you are using GeoFiber, for example, and for GeoFiber, we have 7 to 8 questions. You will ask about how about the interface of Geo, strongly agree, strongly disagree. You will rate the numbers accordingly. What about the selection of channel, or what about the ease of operating the application software? So many questions may be designed, and accordingly you may have to give your opinion, which is subjective opinion, into the form of number.
Okay, sir.
Understood?
Thank you.
Haji, any doubt to anyone, please? Then we will move to the next slide.
No, sir.
Perfect. Now, next point we have, once we have collected the information, now it's time to prepare summary. Now it's time to convert the data into the form of graph, charts, bar graphs, whatever analytical tool which we want to convert We may apply any statistical tool to calculate average, dispersion, correlation, regression, time series, whatsoever. Now it's time to analyze the data. Okay. And we'll actually go for analyzing the data with the help of this basic 4 parameters. Okay. This analysis would be based on validation. Validation means the data which is collected, it should be true. First of all, it should be collected from right sources. Editing, in case of any mistake, you need to correct, you need to edit those information. Coding means we need to convert that, because as we know that whenever we conduct any research, we have, you could say, hundreds of tables, hundreds of graphs available. You need to symbolize the code. You need to symbolize the value, the variables which we use in a particular information. Data entry, any missing information need to be collected again, need to be reframed again, need to be reanalyzed again from the given information, and ultimately will convert the data into tabulation or table format. Clear, I think, everyone? Analyze the information.
Okay, sir.
Then present the findings. You prepare your report, submit the report, present the report, explain the report, what exactly the outcome of your research. Okay. Now these findings may be presented in this particular form. First of all, we have preparatory information, that is about the pages. Then we have introduction of your report, methodology of your report, finding, conclusion, recommendation, appendices, and bibliography. This is the format in which the report may be presented to the top management. Please have a look and let me know any point to be discussed. Shabana, please kindly mute.
So prefatory information.
Prefatory means the primary information or initial information required for a particular project report. Like it include letter of transmittal. Transmittal means permission and everything. Title pages, authorial statement, executive summary, table of content. The introduction part or initial part of your project report.
Sir, can you share one PPT like that where this model can be implemented?
PPT means you need example.
How to prepare the prepared report? I want to
I
say.
told you already. I'll share CR Kothari if you want, because CR Kothari is the best book for research. Okay, so you
Yes.
may find the last chapter is basically project report preparation. Okay, in that you may find different type of reports how we can prepare it. And Mr. Diljit, I think I have to give that mental mapping as well. Okay, because still I'm not well actually, Diljit. So just give me some time. I'll definitely revert you for that. Okay.
Okay, sir. You may share, sir.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, the CR Kothari definitely I'll share with everyone. Those numbers, I think numbers which I have already. So I'll share it with everyone.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
And Diljit, just give me some time actually for that mapping, because I have to go through with some study for that.
Not an issue, sir.
Okay. Because still I am not negative actually. So let's see.
Sir, pray to God. Well, soon.
Definitely. Still, I think you may think that now I'm speaking better. I'm explaining it better.
Now today I feel your health now is good, and thank to God.
Yes, definitely.
Now
Sir.
improvement is there because the voice is now is clear.
Even sir, the problem, like I was very shocked today because one of my student, he's only 23 years of age and he died today actually. So
Okay, very sad, sir. Very
it's
sad.
shocking for me actually on daily basis, because I am getting the news of my father actually passed away. That's a lot of news actually which is very close to me.
Okay, sir.
So basically challenging time for everyone actually, this particular second wave of COVID. But still stay positive. I think it's very important to engage.
But nowadays very crucial. But think positive always. Always everything is good.
Yes. But it's a destiny, I think, what I personally believe and what I implemented as well to stay myself positive, because it's very big loss if you are losing your parents. but still you have to be positive. You have to be, your mindset should be very, very clear what exactly you will proceed your life now onwards.
Yes, sir. This is a crucial time.
Yes, yes, even like people is in depression. Even my mother is not well right now. She is under depression right now. But you have to move on actually, because it's a practical life. You need to move on. You cannot
So this is the habitual in the life. But think positive and do well in coming days.
Yes, sir, actually that positivity lets me to actually recover within a week only. Okay.
Okay.
So that is, I think, with the God of grace, actually with my conduct, with my karma, actually, things are doing good. Actually, things are going in right direction.
From starting of your voice in the class, I think
Yes.
God, thank God, now voice is clear. Now wealth is going well. I think so.
And even sir, like being a faculty, being a public speaker, you have to be positive. Like if I'm giving a lecture to you, if I'm not feeling comfortable, what positivity I can offer to my students? Okay. So that's all. I think,
Yes.
students, any doubt in this report, please? This format of report when it's come to findings, which we need to interpret it, which we need to provide to the top management. I hope so it is clear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
After that, we have types of presentation as well. Okay. How the
Okay.
information can be presented. It may be written, it may be oral, or it may be with the help of visual aids as well. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Is this clear, everyone? I think this slide,
Yes, sir.
types of
Yes,
presentation.
sir.
Then after presentation, definitely it's a responsibility of the think tank of the company. It's a responsibility of the top management of the company to take the right decision based on the information, based on the analysis, based on the report submitted by the research team. Clear? That is making the decision. Clear, I think, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And that's
Yes,
all.
sir.
Okay. Research, marketing research we have completed today. Okay. From tomorrow, we'll start the next topic. I think MIS is not in your syllabus. Yeah, Shabana, please tell me.
Nothing.
Okay. So I'll just search that whether the MIS is in your syllabus or not. If not, then I think we should move to the next topic. Okay. So thank you, everyone. And tomorrow we'll continue with the next topic, and we'll try to cover up one more case study on marketing research, if possible. Okay. Clear, everyone? Any doubt?
Right, sir.
Yes. Okay, sir.
Thank you so much, everyone. Please take care. Stay safe. Stay positive. And
Okay, sir. You too.
thank
You too, sir.
you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.